All right, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Heavyweight Nation podcast. I am your host, Derek. As you can see to my left, we got a new co-host today. Matt, if you want to introduce yourself.
I am Matt Rosa, your co-host.
All right,
How
and
you
as you
doing?
can see, underneath us, we have, of course, 2023 national champ at 133 pounds. Vito, welcome to the Heavyweight Nation podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I mean, Vito, there's not much you could say but speed. Let me say you might be one of the
Yeah.
fastest wrestlers that appeared in the match at that NCAA tournament. Yeah, incredible, incredible. Congrats to you. I'm sure, as much as people kind of gave you a little bit of slack for saying that your goal wasn't being an NCAA champ, uh, I think that was taken out of context a little bit. I'm sure, you and your family were very excited with the outcome of this past weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the congratulations. But yeah, definitely great weekend. I was super happy to see, my family there and, have them take part of what had happened.
So we're gonna just throw it all the way back. We're gonna, go from the start of your career to to obviously to present. So,
From the beginning.
your dad, obviously, a two-time world champ, an Olympic bronze medalist. I mean, you can't really say that anybody else probably got you into the sport other than him. I mean, want to talk a
Yeah,
little about that and where you started, and we'll keep going from there.
yeah, definitely, wrestling was a bit of a family business for me. Like you said, my dad wrestled. He was a very successful senior level athlete. He wrestled for, the USSR and Russia and Belarus as well. And then my older brother, Nick Arujau, he was a three-time state champ in New York, and he ended up wrestling at Cornell as well. Um, but yeah, from a young age, let's see where to start. I started wrestling in like the fifth grade probably. So a little later than most kids. And yeah, I had a tough first year, just because everyone's been wrestling since they're like 3 or 4 years old, and here I am. I'm like, 10 or something, and I'm just getting my ass kicked every single day. Um, so I like really didn't like it, but it started clicking for me around like seventh, eighth grade, and I started to see a lot more success in the sport. And yeah, my dad was my coach. My primary, like, I wrestled for a high school, obviously, and had a coach there, but my dad was the person who taught me how to wrestle, and I did basically everything that he told me to do. Yeah, I sorry about that.
No problem.
I
No problem.
ended up, wrestling in New York State. You're allowed to wrestle varsity uh in the seventh and eighth grade. So eighth grade, I wrestled, ended up taking second in the state, and then that was obviously
I was gonna
where
say,
I lost to
touch on that a
Yanni.
little bit. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
your career is has to be one of the best to ever come out of New York. I mean, four
mm,
New York State
No doubt.
titles, 216 and one. I mean,
yeah,
you went 173 matches
Impressive.
straight from the beginning of your freshman year to your senior year. I mean, that's, number one, wrestling 217 matches. And back when you did it, I mean, you were doing it in, the early 2010s, 2014, 2015, 2016. Now we see with all these, crazy, all over the United States, these a lot of these top level teams travel. I mean, you getting 217 matches, you had to be wrestling every weekend during the season.
yeah. It was definitely looking back, it was definitely a lot. But happy with how my high school career ended out. I did do pretty decent, I think. Towards during my senior year, I ended up making a cadet world team as well.
Mm.
So I think high school about went just about as good as it could have. Um, but yeah,
I know a lot of
I mean,
people ask
absolutely.
I know a lot of people ask Spencer Lee the question, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. Was there any, was there ever any bad blood between you and Yanni? I know obviously you guys were a little bit younger, and it wasn't as bad as Spencer Lee's senior year losing to DeSanto, and then they both end up at
Yeah.
Iowa. But do you think was there ever any bad blood between you guys, or were you guys
Oh
friends?
yeah. Yeah. No, we hated him for a little bit because for the first little bit, it was just like we have a gym down on Long Island where my dad, coaches, and we have all our guys down there, and we got some really good guys. And then we all start, some of our good guys just start losing at these upstate tournaments over the weekend. We're like, who's this guy who's beating our good guys? I'm like, oh, like he lost, really? Like, who do you wrestle? And it's like, oh, this Giacomo whatever kid from upstate New York. And we're like, who the fuck is this? And then I wrestled him at Super 32. We made the semis, and I ended up wrestling him, and he beat me 10-9 or whatever. And I'm like, fuck this kid, like so we there was definitely a little bit of bad blood there for a second. And then he beat me in the state finals a couple months later, and
And
really
that's
didn't
probably
like the
really
kid.
got you. I was gonna say that really probably
Yeah,
Yeah.
got
really
you.
didn't like the kid much that time. But then we wrestled one more time. I want to say like the Journeyman Classic or something like that. And then our dads got together and were like, you know, we have the two best kids in the state, maybe the country. How about instead of wrestling each other, we just start training with each other and just make sure that we win and no one else does, kind of deal. And
And it worked.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
it paid off for sure. So,
Yeah.
I
Iron
got
Are you
sharpens
guys
iron.
close? Are you guys close now?
oh yeah, we literally uh um live together now in an apartment. He's probably my closest friend in general that I have. I think of him as like a brother, and it's crazy to see that that's how it started. And then we started training together, and became friends there. And then obviously we both had the same kind of goals in mind. Because kind of coming back to that interview that I gave at NCAA, I never really grew up kind of idolizing like NCAA wrestling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When I was younger, like the end goal was always like Olympics, like world championships. And it was for Yanni too. I bet he, had much more of a like understanding that like NCAA is really cool. And like, that was definitely a goal he had in mind for himself, I bet. But, you know, to also meet someone else who had the same goal of being an Olympic champion, a world champion, it put us down kind of the same path. So
Having
we
that
would
drive.
end up doing a lot of the same things. So and sometimes it is just like if you're doing the most you can to achieve your goal, you end up doing some things that other people don't do. Training when people don't train. Going to all these camps and stuff, and kind of just doing everything you can. And it was super nice growing up to have someone else there who wants to do the same thing as you, right? And I think that's where the respect and the connection kind of took off. Where we I respect him as a competitor. I respect him as a person who's willing to do the same great like sacrifice and dedication to the thing for the sake of of a dream, right? And so and then obviously we've been at Cornell now together and been kind of like you know leaders of this team for a couple of years. And it's been, and obviously like the whole Olympic trials and COVID and everything, there was just it's been definitely a long journey. And I'm happy to have him there with me.
Yeah.
Very kind words to him. Speaking on that, is that a factor of why you went to Cornell? Does it have to do
No,
with that? Does it have to
actually,
do with being in
no.
New York,
So
closer to
my brother,
home?
my older brother went to Cornell, and it was funny because separately we both came to the same conclusion. We're like, why would you go anywhere else? Kind of like, okay, want to go to a good school because I don't want to like, because I want to have a backup plan, really, like in case this
Realistically,
wrestling
Yeah,
doesn't work out. I want to go to a good school, get a good degree, and if I want to have an out, you know,
yeah,
uh, because if you don't, then you just I don't know, end up like fighting or like, like something like that. But
I was gonna name drop, but I'm gonna take back what I was gonna say. I was gonna say you end
okay,
up like
okay.
somebody, but
No, no, no.
um,
Yeah, let's refrain from the name dropping.
I
But
mean,
yeah, no, so just good school, and then the best, basically the best smart school there is Cornell, like hands
Yeah,
down. Where if you take into consideration academics and best wrestling, like there's no debate. It's us, right? Um, so that was just like a no brainer. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna go to Cornell. If I had and I did have my pick. I could have went anywhere, uh, gotten a full scholarship just about anywhere. I was number one guy in the country for the last 2 years of my high school career, and could have went wherever I wanted, but I was like, no, I'm gonna go to Cornell.
yeah. I mean, being a four-time state champ, I'm assuming you get your pick of the litter.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't hurt that my dad also is my dad, and they're all like, oh, he'll be okay. We'll take him. So
Yeah. Speaking of your dad, like, what kind of impact do you think he had on you, like wrestling wise, like going through
I
that? Do
mean,
you look up to him and everything?
yeah, like it's pretty hard to like distinguish like what I would look like without my dad because I just wouldn't probably would never have wrestled, but more so if he like never trained me, I would just be shitty probably. Like I don't know. He taught me literally every sort of foundational thing that I knew in wrestling. And it wasn't until like my senior year of high school, maybe my junior year of high school, where I started kind of diverging from what he teaches into like my own style. But yeah, for the first, I don't know, 6 years of my career, I just did whatever he told me, and you know, be, and like as I'm getting further in my career as a senior level athlete and someone who is looking to compete at the Olympics and the World Championships, I find myself finding more admiration for my father and what he did, because now that I understand how hard it is to win the World Championships or go to the Olympics, it's insane. It's insane to be
Yeah.
like, oh, like he was that good this whole time,
Yeah, and
and
I'm sure it's
it's
definitely
wild.
good to have someone to look up to and someone to help you like that. And every time we see you wrestle, you just look laser focused. Like no
Oh,
matter
not
any
all the
time,
time.
you look
Not
pretty
all the
laser
time.
focused. But I wanted to know, like, what was your mentality going into the NCAA tournament, and how does that differ from like the world scale?
Um, the NCAA tournament, what was my mentality? I mean, wanted to win. I don't know, not like it was focused. I was just gonna go in, do everything right, and just let it rip. Because I knew that you know, I knew I had a decent shot of winning. I didn't think it did not go as I thought I would. I thought I was gonna win by like 1, 2 points against Fix. I thought I was gonna have to like steal it away from Roman. So that I did shock myself a little bit with my performance, but
mhm.
I did believe that I was capable of winning. Um, but yeah,
Now
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people will look at that from just the folk style standpoint, but you have had dominant wins over RBY in freestyle before. I think back in 2018, you teched
yep,
him twice. Um,
yeah, but I'd say that he's evolved vastly from where he was back then. I think
the
he's a high caliber wrestler right now, and back then he also I don't think he not that he didn't have the standing in freestyle, because my first cadet world team was actually with RBY. He was on the same team as me, and he's been active in freestyle before. And really, just recently, he's kind of taken a step back from it. Um, but it's hard to say that those matches matter 5 years ago. So I didn't consider that at all. Uh, really in like my decision making of what, so like I couldn't even really watch it for any technique breakdowns or anything. It was just so long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Dayton match that we had in the Olympic trials was much more relevant,
Mhm.
but the difference between freestyle and folk style is just so
Oh yeah.
night and day that it's hard to look at that and be like, this is what's going to happen in folk style now.
Yeah. Whole different rule set and everything. But
Oh
you've
yeah.
wrestled some of the top guys in the world, the top guys in America. You wrestled Gilman, you wrestled NATO, like you wrestled these high caliber guys. I'm sure that helps going into the NCAA's.
Yeah, it definitely helps with. I think the Olympic trials was a huge bump for my confidence. You know, and a big hurt to my confidence as well. But we'll let's stay with the good for now. But yeah, no, definitely being on the senior world circuit and kind of going up against these world champion caliber athletes, and you know, I've wrestled and have beaten multiple national champs like Darian Cruz and Nashon Garrett, and Mueller was second in the country, and all these guys that I've wrestled during that COVID year, uh, did help me build my confidence because I was, you know, if I can beat them, why can't I win NCAs, right?
Yeah.
So there was never a doubt that I couldn't win. It was just a doubt that I was gonna fuck it up somehow, and I'm just really happy that I didn't.
Having that confidence in yourself is definitely important.
So
Yeah.
obviously, last season, we saw you, become a runner up. And obviously, it's like, job's not finished. You have a little bit more time to, prepare. So what do you think differentiated this off season, that you came back and you were just lights out?
I definitely spent a lot of time on like the mental aspect of wrestling as well. Because for a long time, I would just basically my entire career, all I've done is train the technical parts and understanding the workings of what is wrestling, right? How do I hit this moves? What is my opponent gonna do here? Like game plan, strategy, all that stuff. And I got really good at it. That's what I think I'm best at. But the thing that I was missing, I think, for a long time was just like you know how do I feel? And wrestling has its connotations with it, right? Like it doesn't matter how you feel, like you're tough, like go fucking do it. But I think I think that looking kind of inward and asking myself like how do I feel right now? How does this make me feel when this happens? And kind of getting a little more in touch with like my emotion and you know um kind of how my body reacts to things. Because a lot of the times I do have a lack of focus, I think. uh and kind of finding that, and it's very brief, right? I am focused when I wrestle, but if I have a small lapse in my focus, and then everything falls apart, right? It only takes 1 second for you to
Yeah.
get taken down, for you to get thrown to your back, whatever, right? And then it's over. Against a high level opponent, that's all you need is a 1 second lapse. So my work this year was training my mind and like putting it together, because if I can wrestle at my best for the entire match, I'm I'm I don't want to sound like cocky, but I'm very confident that I can defeat just about anyone. And whether
I
that
can,
be a
yeah.
world Olympic champion, like I don't, if I wrestled to the best of my ability for a full 7 minutes, like I think I can go toe to toe with some of the best in the world. My issue for years now has been inconsistency. It's been, I can wrestle fantastically when, other times I can wrestle just like dog shit. So I think that was the biggest jump I made this year, is just focusing on that and kind of improving my consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know a lot of coaches preach like peak at the right time. If you peak at the middle of the season, you're going to crash by the end of it. And it sounds like your main goal was to make sure you're peaking at the right time. You're doing what you need to do to get your mental, your body right, like have all one. And That's great to hear, and it clearly worked out for you.
Thank you.
So if you could just kind of walk us through a little bit, you kind of cruise your way through, the first couple rounds of the tournament, and then you hit the semis. And you have a familiar foe, and that, win or lose, you're probably going to wrestle guys that you wrestled during the tournament or wrestled in the past before. So, going into that fixed match, did you think that you were going to major him? Or was that
No.
like you thought it was going to be super close? And, what was
Yeah.
your mental preparation for that match?
Well, honestly, the first and second match were not very easy at all. They were, my match with Latona, I was down at one point actually, and had to come back on them. But yeah, the Latona match was honestly the closest one of the whole tournament, which is
Did you get nervous in
funny
that?
to say.
Were you not as focused
No,
in that match, you think?
I didn't really I didn't really lose focus. Was maybe a little bit, but I don't think
You were
I had
looking
nearly
forward.
the same sense of urgency as I did rest. I think I underestimate him when I wrestle him, and that leads to mistakes on my part, and also just he's got the game plan. It's not rocket science to know how to wrestle against me. Basically like don't wrestle me. It's just run away, wait for me to
Yeah,
chase after you, and then jump at my legs, right? And it's like, well, because I get frustrated. I'm like, well, what are you
I'm
doing?
filming.
Um, and but one of the things that led to me being able to open up the scoreboard on Dayton and RBY was they wanted to wrestle their way, and they
yeah,
wanted to kind of come and say, I think I'm a better wrestler, and get into these positions. In which case, they allowed me to show off my wrestling ability. If you want to beat me, you have to kind of shut down the wrestling. Like, you need as little scoring possibilities to happen in the match. But they wanted action, and I love that. So
yeah.
that's really what let me kind of shine in those last two matches was they came at me, they tied up with me, and they wanted to work for their things, and it's just fed right into mine.
That's great. I mean, those wins were pretty dominant. The major in the semis and a 10-4 win in the finals.
Yeah,
So that's pretty amazing, honestly.
thank you.
I mean, obviously, we got to touch on it a little bit. What was that like for you? Back to back Cornell national champs, 33. Then
Oh, it was
obviously you
fantastic.
got Yanni at 49. What was that like for you? Being able to win your match and then be able to watch Yanni wrestle. And
Oh, it was the best part. I when I won, I was I wasn't like super giddy or excited. I was just very satisfied. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, like that was good. That was really good. And usually when I walk off the mat, I'm pretty, you know, I criticize myself pretty hard. I'm like, you did that poorly. But at the end of that match, I was like, everything you did was good. And there was a very, satisfying feeling. And then I was very happy to see my dad and my family and their expressions. And then I got to shake Trump's hand, and that was cool.
a lot of
Um,
people, a lot of people like to say that your dad stole the show. When they when
he
the
did. He did.
interview when
100%
the
stole the show
interview
from me.
came up to you, Mike and Freddie, your dad's there hanging off your side, and he's ready to start chirping. And I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, he's
what do
great.
you now? Did you guys have any clue that Trump was gonna be there?
I had heard a rumor earlier that day, and then he actually came because they shut down the streets and stuff. So we're like, okay, like he's actually here. But I was so focused on my match, I didn't even really think about it at all. Uh, and I didn't even remember until they were like, hey, do you want to go shake the president's hand? I was like, yeah, and that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
Of
But
course,
yeah, as
yeah.
soon as I got done, I had to go do a bunch of interview stuff, and then as soon as I got done, I ran out to, watch Yanni's match, and I caught like the third period, and I was just overjoyed, really, because that's really what kind of got me going, right? I love seeing my boys just do well, and
And
with me and him winning, we stole third place from Ohio State as well. So that was just
Yeah.
another little icing on the cake.
I mean, an
And Dake being
incredible
there.
team performance. An
Yeah.
incredible team performance. And, it really solidifies, Cornell as a wrestling school with them having 2 out of the 5 four-timers. I mean, you got,
Yeah.
Yanni and Dake. I mean, now
hmm
nobody could really say that Cornell isn't a wrestling school.
Yeah.
I don't think people say Cornell's not a wrestling school. I think we get left out of the conversation a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people like forget about us.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be hard to forget a third place. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people think wrestling and they go right to the Big Ten. But I mean,
Yeah.
you guys, and that whole
We
class, I
well,
mean,
three out of the 10 champs were from the Ivy League. So
mhm.
There you go.
throw that in there.
So you come out of high school. I think last year of high school, you wrestled 138 pounds.
Yeah.
Your first 2 years of college, you cut down to 25. This year,
hmm
we see you back up at 33. What kind of, made you go, cut down when you got to Cornell and then go up, and it seems like you probably wrestled the best you have your whole college career this year.
Yeah. So as to why I went down, I lost my wrestle off actually. We had the 33-pounder Chaz Tucker, and we wrestled at an open tournament. Met in the finals and he beat me. So just lost the wrestle off. It was either go 25 or not wrestle. So
Yeah.
they kind of forced my hand a little there, and thankful that they did because I got to get in the lineup. I got to compete that year, and I ended up taking fourth at NCAAs, which wasn't it was good for a first time, especially with how inexperienced I was with everything. Because at that point I was just 18, 19 years old, so still kind of a baby, you know.
Yeah, young kid.
And and then from there, I wrestled 57 in the off season, had success. 57 in the Olympic trials, had success. So I thought keep the ball rolling, and especially with Spencer. I had already committed that I wanted to wrestle Spencer that year, but then he ended up getting hurt. So it would have been, I could have moved up to 33, but it seemed like kind of a free weight at that point, you know. So now all I had to do was beat Glory and Soriano, um, which I knew I was capable of. It honestly last year what really hurt me was the weight cut. Um, I not for nothing, but I'm getting a little old now. I'm 23, turning 24, so it's definitely getting a little harder to make that cut every single week for the season. The
So what
season's
would you
just
walk
grueling.
around at?
Uh, it depends. Right now, I'm probably like 140.
Like
And
I
I
know
wrestle.
when you were cutting at 25, like what was like the weight cut for you?
I was like 37. So every week I was losing 12. Uh, and it got to me physically, it got to me mentally. I was in the main difference because I didn't get stronger or faster when I got to 25 or when I got to 33. The main difference was my state of mind was just so much healthier. I was just happy. So,
Yeah.
I can eat food and I can work out without needing to lose 6 pounds every workout.
And the stress will
I
drop
could come
off.
into practice in a t-shirt and shorts if I wanted to. And that freedom, I think, is what let me wrestle so well this season. And even, you know, halfway through the season, I have a bit of a chronic back injury, and I re-hurt my back halfway through the season this season. It was actually the morning of the Virginia Tech match, and then that's when I lost to Sam Latona. And then for the next couple weeks, it was just rehabbing that and kind of getting back to a competitive place. Um, so even with setbacks, I was still able to, you know, bounce back and stay very mentally, in it. Um, but yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, it's great.
obviously, an incredible performance. Um, So now we like to have a little bit of a non wrestling at the end of our show here.
Okay.
We got some fan questions. We got some questions that me and Matt came up with. I think we want to open up with a question from your teammates. We have
All
a
right.
question from a couple of the Cornell guys.
Okay.
Let
This is gonna
me.
be tough.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be real good. Hold on 1 second. Ben Darmstadt.
All right.
Ben
Okay.
Darmstadt wants you to answer which devil fruit did you eat that made you so good at wrestling?
I would say it's either the Api no Mi or the Pika Pika, the light. Either the light fruit or the heart fruit.
Well, there you go, Ben
All right.
Darmstadt. If you're listening right now, your question was answered. Another fan asked you, "What's your favorite spot to eat in Ithaca?" I think he said he was a Cornell alum, so he wants to know what your favorite spot to eat is in Ithaca.
Favorite spot. Well, me and Yanni cooked a lot last year, so I'd say my kitchen. But favorite food place, I want to say Chipotle, but it's just so poorly run that I can't say Chipotle.
It's so true.
Um,
Every Chipotle is so poorly run.
so poorly run. They've been doing a little better now, but
Well,
it's
it's
tough.
because
It's
they increased
tough.
the price. They had to increase
They
the
did.
establishment.
Yeah,
They did do
DeBella's
that.
is good. You know, Tai Chi is good. There's a couple. There's a lot of good food spots, but usually I just cook.
Good cook. All right.
Yeah.
Where do you rank New York wrestling? Because I know everyone's talking about PA, Jersey, like all these states. Where do you rank New York wrestling?
Uh, it's up there. Depends, right? Because if you're talking about when I was in high school, we were up there. I think we had a bit of a golden age with me, Yanni. Yanni's little brother Greg. You had Jacory in there. You had like Adam Busiello, and we ran it there for a while. I think it's taken a little hit since we've graduated, but all in all, I think it's still pretty strong. But not like when we were in high school. I'd say, yeah. I don't know if it's comparable to Jersey at this point, but we were probably better than Jersey when we were in high school.
All
What
right.
state do you think is the best?
Probably PA. I mean, it's got to be right.
Let's
Like I don't know.
go. Let's
Un
go.
like unbiasedly, it's pretty hard to like I guess pronounce that. So
It's funny because it's like I'm PA, he's New Jersey, but wrestles in college in PA, and you're New York. So it was
yeah,
very interesting to
Yeah.
see.
very ambiguous. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll just ask. We want to know. Just give us a quick rundown. What is a day in the life of Vito? What is
Uh,
just any day during, because we've talked to a couple other Ivy League guys, and they said the difference between their schedule and a lot of other wrestlers that are in college is their classes are a little bit more serious. Obviously the education's held to a little bit of a higher standard at an Ivy League. So we just want to know what's a day in your life.
like, is this during season
Yeah,
or
during the season. Yeah.
okay? Yeah. I guess I'll give you my what my Tuesday was like during the season. So I would wake up. I would I would wake up at like 7:30 every morning, 8 a.m. I'd go to the Friedman, our wrestling room. I would do something, probably like I would ice bath or I'd get into like we have like a hyperbaric chamber. I would get into that. Or, I would, maybe do cardio or something in the morning and then shower and then go to class. I had class from oh my God, from like what was it? It's probably like 9:40 to 4:30. But I kind of built it like that where I didn't
Long
have many
day.
classes. I
Wow.
didn't have many classes on Monday. No, not 4:30. From 9:40 to 2:20.
Still,
Uh
still.
but and
A
then
long day.
I had a little break and then I would have practice at 4:30. So I would wake up, make breakfast, or I would come home in between two of those classes, make food real quick, go back to class, go to my next class, and then one more class, and then I would go home, make lunch, eat, and then by the time I'm done, I can sit down for like 20 minutes and then get up and then go to practice, then practice. Then after practice, I either have to, you know, cut a little weight or do some recovery or something. But I'm getting into Friedman at like 4 o'clock, and then I'm leaving at like 7. Come home, cook food or whatever, cook dinner because I can't order out really. I gotta follow my diet, so I'm cooking all the
Yeah.
time. By the time I finish eating, it's like 9:30, and then maybe I did homework, and then I would go to bed. But the hard maybe, I don't know. I'm not really an academic weapon, you know.
Oh,
All right.
disappointed to hear,
That
but
sounds like a pretty packed day. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
insane.
Tuesdays and Thursdays were dog. I'll tell you that. That was tough.
Sounds
But
like it.
we have one big question at the end that we'll say we've asked every single guest all 127 episodes. We'll wait for that till one more question. Vito, what's the favorite out of season cheat meal? We got to know like what you're not looking at the scale. You could eat
it
what's
might
your
be.
go-to?
This might be controversial. It might be a stack from Moe's.
Oh, okay.
The
That's not
Moe's
bad.
stack
That's
could
not a
be
bad
it,
one. That
but
is not bad.
You're
I can't
what?
really decide because like shitty Chinese food is like has a vice on me as well.
Like $9,
Um,
like the $9 plates. Oh, those are so good.
like not like we have like authentic Chinese food at Cornell, but like shitty like American Chinese food is great. Um, because I can't have that on my diet. Everything else I
Hmm.
can kind of have because I make it myself, but
Hmm.
I can't really have like much soy or like rice in my diet. So things like that.
All
And
right.
I think we're missing a big question here, Derek.
Oh, we are. The fans would kill us if we didn't ask. Why the tornado headgear?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
Because
the big
because
one.
Matthew wears some funky headgear too.
All right, so
I
take a
do.
look at my ears,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
They're pretty messed up. This one points outwards like this.
Mm-hmm.
So when I put headgear on, it like is up against my
Mm.
headgear like that. So if my headgear moves with the regular ones, it'll like how it's got like 4 holes in the headgear.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It'll cut my ear whenever it moves because
Oh
it's like
wow.
fucking sharp plastic. So I need the tornado because it's got a really deep cup. So my ear kind of sits in it like this.
I
That's
also
the
think it
Sorry.
just
reason.
looks sick. I think it looks
Oh,
sick.
I don't know. I think it's funny that no one else wears it and it's like a meme. But like
Yeah, it is.
but yeah, I literally I have to wear it. So
All right. And the final question, where we wrap it up with your veto, you could take 3 of your teammates into the zombie apocalypse with you. Who would they be, and why would you pick them?
I'd go uh the Yapusian brothers. So I'd go Colton Yapusian, Wyatt Yapusian. Because they're mountain men. They'll survive. They'll be able to like hunt, gather, like build shelter, find running water. Like they got it. And then like I don't know. We need like and then I guess a flex pick. What do I need like a hard
You need a big body.
worker. A big body could be nice too. I would take Furman, Brandon Furman. You know, a heavyweight. Pretty strong. He can get some stuff done. And worst case, if we run out of food, we could eat them probably.
The amount of times that
It's a
we've
good
heard that
answer.
they're taking the heavyweight for protection or as like a distraction,
Backup meal.
like shoot him in the
Distract.
kneecap and run away and let the zombies have him. Like,
Oh god.
but Vito, obviously, again, from the whole team here at Heavyweight Nation, congratulations to you. We look forward to
Thank you.
covering, obviously your whole career. I'm sure, you're ready for start training a little bit to, make a world team. But
Oh yeah, looking
congratulations
forward
on
to
your
it.
win at NCAA's. We're excited to see what next season holds. Hopefully next season you'll see us in person there
Of
at
course.
nationals. That would be
Yep.
crazy exciting for us. But
Yes, sir.
congratulations to you, and it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you, man.
you. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Well, that's been it. And brand new season here, Heavyweight Nation podcast. We appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.